So our topic is Ojibwe, and it is about the indigenous people. Ojibwe people have been around since hundreds of years and are still present today, and actually are still present within Minnesota. We see a lot of it in the upper north of Minnesota, and we call them reservations, and that is who they are, the indigenous people, and those are the Ojibways. They stretch from us to over out west, part in Canada, and we'll learn a little bit about more about that. So the Ojibwe are known for their birch bark canoes, birch bark scrolls, mining and trade in copper, as well as their cultivation of wild rice and maple syrup. They really use the resources in the wild per se to where the reservation is. So they really, really stay true to who they are. And that's why they call themselves this word here, Anashinibeg. Totally butchered that. But again, it is meaning true and original people. They stay true to who they are and they continue to live on these reservations, even in real world today. And this has been on again for hundreds of years. So the history of Ojibwe start with how they traveled. They traveled in large groups or packs. They created kinships to disperse in their land, staying close but working together. So they stay very close and create their packs in the Ojibwe culture. You'll see that a lot. Ojibwe people do a lot of hunting, fishing, gathering, trading, and continuing to carry out their culture in many ways. So they stay in their packs to use, again, their resources in the lands by fishing, hunting, and they still get their food from that situation. Some may venture out, but again, this is just who they are and what they are, and more about them. And they are part of the Indian tribes with sacred land, rights on reservations, and celebrations. So again, you can see this in Minnesota where we are. Go up north an hour and you can get in 2 or 3 hours, I suppose, and get into the reservation and how they live. And they continue to still practice and perform how they believe. And it's super cool.
I'm Tyler, and I'm going to be doing Ojibwe history and important people. Jessica Rickert has been working as a dentist for nearly 5 years before she discovered that she was the first Native American woman in her profession. It was through Dr. George Blue Spruce that this knowledge came about. The picture on the left is Jessica Rickert. Bruce, who graduated dental school in 1956 and went on to become U.S. Assistant Surgeon General, is the very first Native American dentist. He contacted Rickert in the mid 1980s when he was recruiting other dentists from indigenous backgrounds to form a professional association. Currently, Native Americans make up only 0.2% of the national dental workforce, despite totaling 3% of the overall population, according to the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. Recent data from the American Dental Education Association revealed that just 16 of the nearly 10,500 students who applied to U.S. dental schools for fall of 2019 were Native American.
Hi, my name is Vanessa. I will be talking about the traditional customs of the Ojibwe people. Some of the customs are pretty much the annual spring and autumn celebration, which they celebrate that the winter is over for the spring and the autumn is pretty much preparing themselves for the winter and celebrating all of the food that they have harvested and have stored and put away for the winter. Now, during these celebrations, men showed their skills by traditional, fancy, and grass dances. As for the women, they would join them in traditional dances by wearing a shawl and jingle dresses. As you can see over here in this picture, this is the traditional wear for the women, a shawl and jingle dresses. Now, the Ojibwe people are known for their hospitality, their honesty, the wisdom that they have, and their generosity and the endurance, which has been passed down from generation to generation through sweat lodges. Sweat lodges are now known to be pretty much saunas, and in these sweat lodges they would congregate, mainly the men would congregate, and they would story tell, pass down traditions off to the younger generations, and that's how they kept their traditions intact. They were mainly influenced by their traditional religion called Midowin. It's tied to their indigenous medicine and healing, which pretty much means that they derived all of their medicine from the earth, plants, herbs, and so on and so forth. They were also influenced by their songs, the dances, and the ceremonies that they performed. And all of those ceremonies were documented on birch bark scrolls for, again, now younger generations to look back and see what their ancestors did in those types of ceremonies and what were the customs. Hi, my name is Vanessa again. I will be talking about the traditional foods that the Ojibwe people ate, or more of what they harvested or hunted for. So, the styles of food depended on the season. For example, in the spring was a time of planting and cultivating their crops. In the late summer and early fall was the wild rice season. As you can see over here on this picture, you can see that the Ojibwe are in canoes and they are planting and harvesting the wild rice. Wild rice is actually grown in water. Now, that wild rice was stored for the winter and spring use. Now, when the winter was fishing and hunting season, they would hunt buffaloes mainly, as well as deer and many other animals that was protein nutrition for them, which meant for the fishing and hunting season, they would move closer into the woods so that they can have full access to these animals. Now, they also gathered maple sap from sugar camps, which they processed into syrup, and that syrup was used for seasoning as well as a preservative. If they wanted to preserve meat for the winter, they would just simply pour some syrup on it and store it and seal it in a container and put it away until the winter. And it was the seasoning as well used throughout the year. These are, again, the traditional styles or food that the Ojibwe people ate.
All right, I'm Tyler again. I have Ojibwe past dental practices. Native Americans had a natural diet. They were expert hunters and gatherers and were able to survive completely off of the land. Their diet would consist mostly of corn, beans, squash, fish, and other game. All of these things that they would hunt themselves or collect. They would eat the food largely unaltered by spices, which were more prominent in Europe. They also ate a lot of fresh fruit and nuts, which was a big help to keep plaque off the teeth. Because of their fresh diet that was high in fiber, Native Americans had surprisingly well-maintained teeth and gums, which is pretty amazing considering that they didn't have the knowledge and the tools that we have today about oral hygiene. Tooth care. Native Americans clean their teeth by using chew sticks and chewing on fresh herbs to cleanse their teeth and gums. So an example of the chew stick would be the bottom picture on the slide. Chew sticks were twigs that had two uses. One end was frayed by a rock and used for brushing. The other end was sharpened and used as like a toothpick. So basically what they're using is a stick from a tree. Native Americans would chew on the frayed end to clean debris from their teeth. In addition to chew sticks, early Native Americans would also chew on pine needles to clean debris from their teeth. And they would also chew on herbs like sage and mint to help keep their breath fresh, which is pretty creative.
Next is modern dentistry for the Ojibways. The Ojibways practice dentistry just how most do around the world in the reservations and even outside of their reservations, and meaning they most practice the same way as all of us. Here in this picture to our right, her name is Victoria Gaki. Sorry if I mispronounced, but she is actually a dental student at the U of M right now. It is her 4th year. So dental school is a total of 8 years. You have 4 undergrad and 4 dental school, which is your grad school. So she is in her 4th year, so she's been in school for 8 years, and she is true Ojibwe. She is a part of the Red Cliff tribe and hopes to go back to be a part on her reservation once again as a doctor or dentist. So she hopes to go back, and that is actually at the southern shores of Lake Superior, where most of her larger extended family continues to live and continue their culture. So pretty cool. I've actually met her. Pretty crazy. I worked at the U of M throughout to get really good practice and stuff like that. So this past fall, I have worked at the U of M, and I had no idea until I did this research, and I totally worked with her multiple times. Super sweet. As you can see, she's wearing earrings here that seen as practiced in a lot of her culture and the indigenous culture. So that's pretty cool. And a quote from her is, "I choose to return to serve my tribe as a dentist and show future generations growing up on a reservation doesn't hinder what we are capable of achieving." So that is pretty cool, meaning she states that she was raised, they didn't talk a lot about, or they didn't practice a lot of dentistry. They rarely went to the dentist in her culture, and she wants to change that. She wants to be different. She wants kids to growing up to know that it is okay, it is normal, you must get your teeth checked, and she wants to be capable of achieving that, to really make it known in their culture. So that is pretty cool, and she's going back up to where she's lived in reservation. So again, it's that pact and staying together. So she is going to be doing that. So that is pretty cool. So yeah, just right at the U of M here, she's going back to her tribe, which I said is close in Minnesota, which is right off Lake Superior.
Now this concludes our presentation on the Ojibwe people and their culture. These are the citations that we have used for this project, along with also citations of the pictures that were used throughout our project as well. Thank you for viewing again, and we hope that you have learned something.